this is interesting. A library department head, Shane Stagg. Shane Stagg, it sounds like a male porno performer, you ask me. He says society must fight to end hyper-femininity. I don't know what hyper-femininity is. I think I have a theory as to what it might be. Why don't we run this minute-long clip and try to make sense of it on the other side, Tamara?
Yeah.
District 13 recognizes the significant harm rooted in our colonial past and the impacts of colonialism that continue to this day.
Yeah.
We must work hard to fight the strict binaries of gender rooted in patriarchal colonial systems. We must fight hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity. We must challenge that gender is rooted in biology. We must challenge the cultural norms of blueness and pinkness defining our expression and genders. All sexism, homophobia, and transphobia are rooted in these strict binaries, and they must end. As we raise the transgender flag today, we gather in celebration of the richness, diversity, and gifts the trans community offer to us all.
Tamara, I bet you a donut this guy is a graduate of gender studies, because that seems like the playbook from start to finish what he was saying. But this hyper masculinity, is that the new word for toxic masculinity? And people like him are around today because there was a lot of toxic masculinity in conflicts like, the First World War, the Second World War. Otherwise, if we didn't have all that toxic masculinity, we're probably living under the flag of not the transgender community, but the swastika and speaking German. But and then he talks about blueness and pinkness. I mean, buddy, pick a lane. Isn't that the color of the transgender flag? It's baby blue and pink and white. So, this is incredible. But when he talks about ending hyper femininity, we have another clip, and I'd love to run it too. It's Tulsi Gabbard in the United States, and she tweeted out a bit of her speech where she said there is no greater expression of hatred and hostility towards women than to erase our existence as a category of people. Well done, Miss Gabbard. This is what's going on. This is a war on women. This is a war on the family. You have biological male competing in female sports. You have biological males doing time in female penitentiaries. By the way, not the other way around, Tamara, because if you, God forbid, were a convict and you say, I'm a man, I want to be in the male penitentiary, the guards don't want to be on triple duty every day protecting you from getting gang raped. So that's why it doesn't work the other way. This is unbelievable, this mumbo jumbo that this librarian is saying, who's part of a school board. No wonder kids right now, they're not being educated, Tamara. They're being indoctrinated when they have to listen to garbage like this.
Not just is this a part of the school board, but this is literally the department head, the library department head. This is the person in charge of choosing the materials that are currently available to children in their school libraries. And this is the thing that parents currently are expressing concern over, are what are being called supplementary materials. And so it's all under the guise of inclusivity and tolerance and the transgender nonsense that's really coming in and permeating our schools and affecting our very young children. And I mean, I would like to ask this person, Shane Stagg, what fighting strict binaries looks like, because to me, and as someone who speaks to these concerned parents, it's that we should be radicalizing children with the idea that gender is a social construct, that they can just be whoever they want to be willy-nilly. They can identify as a hawk if they so pleased one day and then be the other gender the next. But fighting strict binaries, as I have seen thus far in these people's minds, is sexualizing young children and forcing them into a box to label themselves as something that they should have no knowledge or concept of. These ideologies should be reserved for adults to debate robustly. They should not be questioning and permeating the young, impressionable minds of children. The science is still very clear that there are two genders, yep, that they have physical, mental, emotional attributes. And the individuals who are willy-nilly going in this other direction are a very small fringe minority, fraction of society. That's not to say that we need to disrespect adults or be rude and condemning to people who are struggling with mental illness and issues with gender dysphoria and seeking out, trying to identify who they are as a person. But I'm talking about adults. Let's leave the kids alone. Leave your ideologies, your politics at the door, and let's teach these kids and get them caught up in school, because yes, their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s are lagging in comparison to other developed nations, and this is heavily concerning. But regardless, our government doesn't seem to care about that. They want to continue virtue signaling, flying the flag to the wokies, and we can see that. We have another video to share with you, which comes from Ontario NDP MPP Kristen Wong-Tam, who's also a Toronto councillor, where she presents a drag queen to speak on this new proposed legislation that will happen perhaps in Ontario, we're not sure yet, which will ban protests within 100 meters of any drag queen event under the threat of a $25,000 fine. So we see this craziness happening also in Alberta, but it's now coming over to Ontario. I mean, are we really surprised? But let's roll this clip.
We will not let fear win. A world without trans people has never existed. A world without drag has never existed, and it never will. Queer people have always been here amongst us. They are our coworkers, they are our brothers, our sisters, they are our mothers, our fathers, they are our families. Drag is art, drag is culture, drag is educational, drag is creative, drag is comedy, but drag is not a crime. My name is Scarlett Bobo, and thank you so much for your time.
Drag is educational.
Yeah, really. I feel so sorry for that person, Tamara. Looks like she was at the local Color Your World paint store and the paint mixer exploded while she was walking by. When I first saw that group shot organized by Kristen Wong-Tam, she's now a they, them, by the way. I remember back in her City Hall days, she was just a plain lesbian. But now it's a they, them. I don't know what that includes. I can't even decompartmentalize that. But, I really thought this was a poster either for the Munsters, The Next Generation, or the Addams Family Revisited. I mean, look at that. It's like everyone's about ready to dance to the Monster Mash. And that poor little girl, well, I think she's a girl. Yeah. Could be a guy. You don't know anymore. And, God forbid, you don't want to misgender anyone or use the wrong pronouns. That's a capital crime, Tamara. But this is indicative of what I've been saying for a couple of years now in terms of this trans movement. It's not about equal rights. It's about special rights. How dare this NDP MPP thinks that this should be a protected class with a perimeter around it that is immune to a protest. That you're right. This is the garbage that's drifted over, I guess, with the westerly winds from Calgary with that kooky mayor. Sorry, it doesn't work that way in a democracy, because who else are we going to give this special protection to, Tamara? Pretty soon you won't be able to protest anywhere. You know what? I think that is the end goal, to be quite frank. We see with Bill C-11, we're on pins and needles, seeing who's going to get yanked and disciplined and fined. And I guess when it comes to off the internet platform in the public square, I guess there's going to be certain people that you can't, or certain ideologies that you can't protest either. I don't even recognize this country sometimes, Tamara.
Same. And well, we saw that precursor throughout the COVID narrative, right? Where your right to assemble, your right to protest, your right to condemn government action and speak out against the harms that their policies are causing onto yourself and the general public. All of that was completely quashed and squashed and trampled on by our government and by the police. And so now we see this translating, to put a play on words, over into this trans ideology. And, you know, the thing about this drag queen in particular started off her speech with brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. So, I mean, there's a trans person, to not misgender them, using those strict binaries that we must fight, as per the head of the library department at the Durham District School Board. And I only just wish there was some other way that we could model tolerance and inclusion and respect to children without putting them in front of a grotesquely dressed caricature of a woman to read them stories. You know, like, is there not another way?
This is the thing, Tamara. It's this obsession with the youth that this community obsesses about. And, you know, I don't have any problem with drag queen performances. I mean, if you're at a bar and you're a patron, if you like it, hey, you know, that's your thing, great. If not, you can leave.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.